Hadassa. Welcome to the
Hey,
weekly squeeze. This is so
thank you.
exciting. Hi. I
Thank
feel like we're
God.
having a play date.
I know we totally are. It's like I get to see your room. It's so
I
cute.
know, right? It's my space. Okay. So I discussed the whole, the D tragedy on my podcast episode on Monday, and I really went into it because I feel it's so important for people in Chutz La'aretz to understand what it feels like, what it is, and how real the terrorism. Ultimately, these are real people with real lives, and that's what I
Yeah.
felt when I drove on Thursday to Efrat. I was shaking. I was shaking the entire time. I couldn't stop crying. I come to the neighborhood. It's gorgeous. I get out of my car. I see this banner. I'm like, did this happen? There was a family. There is a family. These are real people.
Right.
It's important that the world knows. So, what were your thoughts? I saw that you made a beautiful reel about it. What is your thought on this particular terrorist attack on top of so many others that we've experienced in the last few weeks?
Right. It was interesting because I got a question yesterday of someone being like, I don't understand. There are so many terrorist attacks in Israel all the time. Like, why is everyone so sad about this one? And I think there are a few reasons as to why this really touched us all. First of all, losing half a family is extremely drastic. That's not just like a normal. That's just not like the normal consequences of a terrorist attack. It's ridiculous. We have lost full families in Israel, and we've also lost half families with El Shabo and his siblings. But it's quite rare that a family goes from 7 to 3, and 3 meaning 7 to 4, like losing 3, but that was really bad. I think the second thing that was really hard is that we're used to funerals, right? And you look at the people's faces and you see them and it's so sad, and then they kind of disappear from the media. And watching the family go through a funeral again was severely traumatic. And I'm literally getting
Brutal.
chills just talking about it,
Me
because
too.
it's like, you were here, we shouldn't be seeing you here again. Like, you deserve to go home and mourn now, and then having to come up again and eulogize again, and that whole emotional roller coaster. And I don't know, for me, when they said like it was obvious to me during the first funeral that they're probably thinking about their mom, but I don't know why it was just kind of like, but she's going to be okay.
Me
Like,
too.
there's
I
just
felt
this
the
sense
same
of
way.
like, it's like, okay, so she's going to be home soon, and like maybe it's a distraction that they get to go to the hospital and care for her, and like that can kind of help them, but like not even. And did she know that her daughters died? Like that was extremely terrible. And the third point, which I think is the most important point, is that it doesn't matter, because if people feel it and people connected to it, then bring it on. Because sometimes it's really hard to connect to Israel. And we have an English speaking family, a British family, a man who has become a country leader, like a literal leader in our country overnight. There's no one who doesn't know his name. There's no one who doesn't recognize his face. And there's no one who isn't thirsty to learn and to listen and to do what it is that he needs. He became a leader overnight. And if you succeeded in connecting to what it means that like Eretz Yisrael Niknek Yisurim, like it's hard to live here sometimes, it's okay if you didn't connect to the Palays or to the other brothers or to the or to any of the other attacks we've had. Like, that doesn't matter. You're feeling it now, so feel it here, and just go with whatever it is that you're feeling. And I think that's like the main important. It's like, it's not that one is worse than the other and one is better and one is more important and one I connected to. You're feeling it now, good. Take it and go with it, and let that where it leads you. It was interesting because they spoke about Lucy, and they said how much she loved greenery and how much she loved green foods. And I felt compelled to buy 3 plants the day of the funeral. Like, it was really weird, but I was like, I live in Israel, and planting trees and whatever is like a very big part of Eretz Israel. And I brought some green into my home, and I have 3 plants, one for each one of them. And I know it's weird because it's
That
like,
Hadassa, I have the chills. I don't think you understand. I have three. Well, now I have more because I'm a little obsessed, but I have three planters on my mirpesset. Now is the most beautiful time to plant flowers in Israel. And I was literally thinking of putting with a magic marker their names on the pots because I
yeah,
felt the same way. I felt like I
yeah.
need to create something permanent or, slight
Like,
that will
yeah,
grow.
I'm gonna bring them into my home. I just felt like I really learned something. I think every mother, I mean every woman, every parent, whoever it is, like watching the funerals and watching the daughters not being able to stop talking about how incredible she was as a mother. And I think she was an incredible mother, but I also think she was just a good mother. Meaning, do you know what I mean? I just think she did such a good job as a mom, and really seeing what the role of a mother is and the love of a mother, and how consistency and care and attention to detail forms children and forms people. I think that was really inspiring for us. And yesterday at the Shiva, it's interesting because you can see the sense of overwhelm that they have. And that's fair. They've been overwhelmed with tragedy, with loss, with funerals, and overwhelmed with love and care and people. And what Rabbi D said, which I thought was amazing, is that like, he's like, whatever idea you have, whatever initiative it is, my answer is yes.
Wow.
I am empowering you to do it. You don't need my permission. You don't need my sign off. Like, I felt weird because yesterday I went to the shiva, and I went with work. And so my boss was like, please make sure that you're taking photos. And I was like, oh, but it's a shiva. Like, I don't want to do social media at a shiva. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
first of all, there was a ton of press over the last week in that tent. Describe for
right,
people what a Shiva house looks like in Israel. I was actually never Menachem Avel, a terrorist victim, and
right,
I I know that they set up these tents for regular niftarim as
yeah,
well, but it's really nonstop. I was telling my husband yesterday, it's such a beautiful thing. It's such a cushion of
right,
love. It's such an embrace from the country, the stream.
right.
Yeah, visitors. So tell people what it's like tell people what it was like in the Shiva house, and just what you took in when you walked in,
Right.
and yeah, what you took away.
Right. So first of all, just walking into obviously Lucy's home, you felt it. You really felt it. You see, this is a woman who's been building a bricks and bricks of love and her beliefs like into the house, and you just felt it. You
Totally. It's
know,
a
like
gorgeous home.
you really felt it. What I liked is that, first of all, the community of Efrat had an overwhelming response of volunteers, people who would take their entire day off to go and stand with yellow vests and kind of move the people around the way it was supposed to be. When you came, there was an upstairs, right where the street is, and you walk downstairs to get into the house. So already upstairs, there are a ton of people, like a ton of people standing, waiting to be let in. And then on the stairs, they were letting people in like 5, 10, 20 at a time, whatever the organizers like had been told. You walked into the house, and you really were able to see kind of the funeral, the Shiva house. There was food, there were drinks, photos. The mirrors were all covered. Obviously, there were low chairs around. And
And
there are
they had
pictures
these books.
already
There were pictures everywhere, and they had these books where people could
for people to
sign.
sign and write letters. Like, and I think that's like normal, like Shiva house activity. But over here, it was like really beautiful. Meaning, I think the reason why most of us have never been to a Shiva house for mourners is that it's a very hard thing to go to, even when you love someone who's mourning. So to go to a stranger's house and enter that dynamic is like a bit scary. Over here, it was kind of like, you're supposed to be here. Like, this is, you're supposed to come and visit us now. The
Totally.
entire, like, there was a sense of like, no one was like, oh, who are you? Oh, you don't know us? Oh, okay. Yeah, like there was none of that. It was like, obviously crowds have come to be Menachem. Like, that was sense. And then you walked through the house and you went into the back. Now the children were all in their, they each have a
Like a
room where they're
designated
sitting with their
space. Right,
friends.
right.
So they're kind of saved from the overwhelm. And the youngest boy, we didn't see him at all. I just saw teenage boys like heading into the room and just going to sit with him and be with him. And then Rabbi D was sat outside. His parents and his 2 daughters were there with him, and he had a microphone, and there was just so many people just sitting all around him.
And
And they
garnering
wanted
chizuk from him,
from
which
him,
is
and
so insanely amazing.
right, and it's amazing. And I also think that like he needed it, like, you know, like this is you know, he lost his family because he believes in Israel. You know, they moved here and they believe in it, and he really believes it. And
Such
Rabbi
proud
Ephraim,
Israelis. Yeah, such proud
yeah,
Israelis. I even noticed they were all wearing those Israeli Teva sandals. I know they're Shiva
yeah,
shoes, but still, they
yeah.
have those shoes.
Yeah, and the girls were walking around barefoot, like they were home. It was, I also was there on the last day, which usually is the easiest day to go to. And he was just sitting and talking, and there were two Rebbeim there. One is, I'm going to confuse their names, and that's going to be very embarrassing. One is
Ephraim
the,
Goldberg, you said right?
yeah,
Ephraim
rabbi.
Goldberg.
He's the rabbi from Boca.
Boca, yeah.
Right. So he was there, and I'm pretty sure he flew out. I'm not sure, but there was like this sense of like he had a booked in time, and he took the mic and spoke to him. Rabbi D apparently is a Talmud of him, and
Yeah.
Rabbi
He
Ephraim
speaks
said he
about
was,
Amuna. He speaks about Amuna. That's
yeah,
his
he
thing.
speaks about Amuna a lot, and Rabbi D apparently quotes him all the time in his family. And Rabbi Ephraim said he was like, you call me your Rebbe, but now you've become my Rebbe, which was like very beautiful to hear. The rabbi from Or Stone was there. Again, I'm going to blank on his name. Rabbi Katz was there. There was just like a lot of really,
Shlomo Katz, the singer.
yeah, Rabbi Tilly Weiss, who I work for, from Israel 365, and it was interesting because when we got into the shiva, so Rabbi Tilly asked, like, can we take a video of you? Can we share it? So then he says, is it gonna get to people? And we were like, yeah, we got about 1 million views on our videos, and he was like, great, let's do it then. Like,
They're so enthusiastic and ready to turn
yeah,
this into something positive. I mean,
right,
I can't really think about the actual experience that they're going to have over the course of the next year when they're alone, and the things they have to cope with,
yeah.
losing their older siblings and their mother, and that's something that's very painful, and I'm sure they'll need resources to help them through that. But
Can you imagine if no one cared?
I know, and I see
And
from the
now everyone
10,000
cares.
people joined the Pirkei Avos WhatsApp
Yeah.
groups, and that was in a
Right.
few hours. It was
You know,
phenomenal.
and you know, he didn't even like his daughters like didn't even know there's so many initiatives popping up. And so he said that these two girls, Dali, and I forget the name of the other girl that he mentioned on the mic. He said one of them reached out and said somebody, like, people are asking if they can add content, if we can write a book that people can buy. And Rabbi Leo was just like, the answer is yes. And he said it again. He's like, do it. I'm empowering you. You know what to do. Do it. If you want to post more pictures of your Israeli flags, do it. If you want to start an initiative, if you want to name in their memory, do it. Do it. He's like, the answer is yes. He's like, I can't come up with the ideas. I can't run all of these initiatives, but you can. And if it's in your heart that you should be doing something like this, do it. And I think that's a very,
I feel like they lost part of their family and they gained so many more not obviously you can't replace your mother and your sisters,
yeah,
but in a sense, like Am Yisrael really stepped up and was like, we are here,
yeah,
we are
yeah,
one, and we're gonna
yeah,
mourn together. And it really, someone I mentioned this on the other episode, someone tweeted out, I wish I could divide their pain amongst Klal Yisrael so we can all mourn a little. It's too much for one family, but that's
yeah,
what we do during Shiva. That's what we do with all these messages. And I want
yeah.
to talk about the three initiatives that the D family are spearheading. My kids go to Ezra. I know in America people don't know what Ezra is. I'm sure you have it in Kiryat Gat, but it's a youth group. And
Yeah.
Rena was a counselor. I know my kids are very close to their counselors. They go twice a week. It's a pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty big organization.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like any youth group. If there's Ezra in the UK, if it's like NCSY or Bnei Akiva or
right,
whatever other youth groups there are, it is the religious and Zionistic,
right.
group. It's a little more separated than Bnei Akiva, and there definitely is like a very big need for it, and many
Oh, it's
people
amazing.
go
It's
to
amazing.
it.
They actually renovated the entire Beit Shemesh Park. It's been closed for weeks now. They're completely redoing it because how much activity takes place there because of Ezra and all the groups
Right,
that they
but
and all
it's
the
amazing.
productions. It's amazing. So they're
Right,
establishing an actual proper location, an Efrat
right,
branch for this
right.
youth movement. So
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing. They're already. I
And
mean, this
they're
is
doing that
something that
in
Rena
Rena's
wanted.
memory. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's what's interesting about Efrat is that if you've never been to Efrat, it looks like gorgeous suburbia, just beautiful homes.
Stunning.
But then you look around and you're like in the middle of the mountains and there are Palestinian
Arabs. Yeah,
villages everywhere.
that's
So
right.
it's very interesting because like you literally could be in Muncie or in wherever
You
it is
feel
in
safe
America.
as soon as you pull in. You're like, I'm
But
home.
once you
I
pull
want
it,
to live
once you
here.
do the drive, you're like, this
I know.
thing. And then and what's amazing also about Efrat is that it keeps on building up, meaning there's a lot of potential there. Like there's always
12,000
just like,
people. Yeah,
yeah,
12,000
and
families or people.
it
Yeah.
slowly builds up. So I think this youth center is really important. Also, because they are quite far away from everything and public transportation is hard to get to. So things like going to the beach or whatever it is that teenagers do, I think it's very good that the center where youth will be hanging out and collecting will be under Ezra. And be a place for teenagers in that area to really gather. So that's very cool. There are three initiatives.
Right. Tell me about the other two.
So the one I liked the most was the Mayan
I
that they're
know. I know. We're going to go up north next month, but not next week. And we're going to go to Mapal El Al, which is a very beautiful, it's pretty far up north.
Yeah.
But waterfalls, I mean, Mayan was
Right.
water. And what are they doing? Explain to me.
Yeah. So they're literally building a Mayan. I don't know the exact details of where it's going to be and how it's going to be, but they're building an entire water sort of hike in her memory.
A natural spring.
A natural spring. Yes, I apologize. Her name was Maya, which is Aramaic for water. And they're building a spring. She also really loved hiking. That was something she was very passionate about. So it's like Rena's passion of the youth group is going into her center, Maya's passion for nature and for traveling and for Israel. And unfortunately, where they died, where they were murdered, was also on one of these hikes. So I think that's going to be very special. And the last thing that they're building is a simcha hall in Lucy's memory. And that's going to be in Efrat, where people will be able to have weddings, bat mitzvahs, engagement parties. Just really take this opportunity to build Efrat up a little more and really make sure that the roots and the morals and the things that these girls and these women were passionate about kind of last in Efrat, even once they're gone. We're never going to forget them. Like, I think if every person makes like a mental list of the victims of terror that they remember, we all have a few. For me, it was Halel Ariel. I named my daughter after her. It was the three boys, was a very big one for me. We each have a few that kind of just like stand out and stay, and we'll always recognize their faces. We'll be able to pick it out of the crowd and say, this is what happened. I remember that. This has happened to the D's Ari Fold, let's say. And I think that's the way it's supposed to be.
I have Ari's picture right here. That impacted me. That was a very, that was one of them that really cut right into my heart. I was listening to his podcast and he was a big inspiration for me, but I like the point that you made. The point is that if you connected to this, there's no reason to feel guilty that you didn't connect to another terrorist attack. It's totally normal. There's only so much pain we can absorb. And as human beings, sometimes we distance ourselves from the things that are almost too difficult to bear. But this has been such an amazing almost experience for Am Yisrael to see how when we cry together and we hurt together and when we hug each other and embrace and then we build. That's the message. Wherever you are, build something small, create something, do something, instill something, plant something, the smallest thing, but build, create. That's what we do. They destroy, we build, we remember, we remind, and that's how we strengthen.
The problem with what Israel's experience is that we're really experiencing a cycle of hate. It's just one after the other, and people are always saying, like, I'm so scared to come to Israel. Don't be scared to come to Israel. Just come to Israel, okay? You guys have way more problems in America with your guns. I don't want to hear it.
Totally,
okay?
Totally. My husband said that yesterday.
Do not want to hear it.
That's right. If you're going to Chicago, if you would go to Chicago for a business trip and you wouldn't come to Israel, then
no, like honestly, like, civilian, whatever. We're not going to get into guns today. And I don't have a political opinion on whether people should or shouldn't own guns. I'm just saying that Israel is way less dangerous where y'all live. That's it. Sorry. So don't let it scare you. Don't stop coming here. And know that, like, the only way to break a cycle of hate is with a cycle of love. That's our role. Sure, we can go in and we can burn villages. We can go in and we can start stabbing people ourselves. It's not the way we roll. That's not what we do. And the enemy, I always say it, we all have questions, none of us have answers, right? Nobody knows how to solve this. The politicians themselves don't know how to solve this. I speak to soldiers about, like, what do they think should happen? Like, how are we going to stop this? And they're like, I don't know. I'm just showing up and doing my best. And they tell me to not do it. And it bums me because I want to respond, but I can't. And they tell me that I have to go in the middle of the night, and I'll go. Like, we don't know what to do. We don't know how to make this stop. But the only way to make it hurt less is to really continue a cycle of love, and to make sure that we're empowering each other, and that we're staying connected to the stories that matter to us. Like, the funny thing is that when the daughters died, I just ignored it. Like, when the girls died, I just ignored it. I was like, okay, there was another pigua, another pair of sisters. Oh my God, I can't handle this. Okay, but I literally detached
You're saying
myself from it,
before the pictures came out. Before the pictures came out.
Like, Monte Shabbos, there was a pigua, there were two people. Oh my gosh, okay. Like, I didn't have any emotional strength to, like, go into it. And then a day or two passed, and I watched the funerals, and I, like, started feeling it a little more. Like, I was ready, but, like, it's been a crazy few weeks. It's been a crazy few months. It's been a crazy few years. Like what am I talking about? Right. And then I decided that it like, and then there are some things you can't decide to disconnect from, you just are connected, and it's part of the story, and it's part of Am Yisrael. Don't be scared to come to Israel. Come to Israel regardless, support Israel and love Israel regardless. Wear Israeli jewelry. Make people should meet you and know that you're a Jew. Post pictures of them on your Facebooks, print out photos of them and keep them in your homes if you can. Name your children after people that have lost themselves here. Light candles, show up. If you have an opportunity to donate to a cause that matters to you, donate to a cause that matters to you, and let's just keep on responding, because do you think Britain would have put out that letter if the whole world hadn't posted about it?
That's right.
It wouldn't have. It actually makes a difference. Do you think we'd be able to build centers in these children, in these children's and this mother's memory if the whole world wasn't like, oh my God, like, no. And one thing that's really interesting about living in Israel is that oftentimes we feel ignored. Like I've been in bomb shelters for days and days and days and felt like nobody cares, right? Like the world doesn't care. And the truth is that, like, okay, maybe we're not the biggest like community in the whole wide world, but sometimes you feel from Israel that the world does care. And that gives us a lot of strength, because it helps us feel less alone. It helps us feel like we'll be better defended, that people have got our backs, and that the pain that we're going through actually matters to someone. So that's what I took from it.
I could not have said that better myself. Hadassa, thank you so much for supporting Israel, for supporting our soldiers, for being a strong voice in this fight of good against evil. And may we merit to live in a safe land where our children can grow up and hike and explore and just do all the constructive things that the Jews in Eretz Yisrael have been doing for the last 75 years. And Amrit Hashem, we'll touch base.
One more thing?
Yes, by all means. The floor is yours. I'm loving it. This is fantastic. I adore you.
I love you too. I'm just going to say one more thing. That if we look at the D tragedy, okay, I'm holding two hands up. There are two circles. I'm a visual person. I use my hands. Okay. If we look at the D tragedy, right, there's the pain of all of this, right? And we can tap into that, and we can hold it, and we can feel it, and we can be really, really weighed down by it because it's heavy. And then there's the beauty that has come from it, right? It's the Shiva house, it's the support, it's Rabbi D's word, it's the things that have happened on social media, it's the fact the whole world cares, it's the initiatives, right? And the truth is that the pain is like a weight, it's heavy and it brings us down. And the beauty is like helium. It just takes us up. And you can choose what you want to focus on right now. Okay, this one, the pain is going to make you anxious. It's going to make you sad. It might even make you leave. There are people who have decided, like, I can't do this and I don't want to live here. There are people who say, I'm not going to come visit here. There are people who look at Israel as like, this isn't worth it, right? And that's the pain. You want to focus on the pain and look at the pain of what the D's have gone through. It'll weigh you down. It's weight. That's all it is. But if you look at the beauty, okay, it'll actually lift you up. And the beauty is bittersweet. It is a bittersweet beauty. Do not get me wrong. But the more you focus on it, the bigger it gets and the stronger it gets. And
it's a powerful force.
Mm-hmm. It lifts us up. It lifts us up as a nation. It lifts us up as mothers, of family members. It lifts up the Jewish people. And so we have two ways to look at it. And it's important to feel the pain. It's important to be like, what are they going through right now? Like, Chad Mashmit, we had a funeral, like we had two funerals, right? We had to feel that pain, and it was heavy. But what if you can join us here, join us on this side where we're building in their memories, and we're not going to forget them, and we're supporting them however we can. You're gonna feel the light of Eretz Yisrael, the beauty of Eretz Yisrael, that passion, and the tzionut, and the realness of why it is that we decide to live here. באמת מכעמך ישראל. Like you don't see it anywhere else. You don't have this anywhere else. So like focus on the light, join the Pirkei Avos groups, donate if you can, do things in their memory. I bought 3 plants. I can't explain it, but I did. I don't know. It just feels right. And I walk into my house and like the tall one's Lucy and the small one's Rena, and like it is what it is. But that's the light of it, and May we always be able to find the light in the situations. May the Jewish people help power the light of these situations in their reactions and their response and the support. And may this stop really soon.
Amen, amen, amen. I'm gonna put your Instagram links in my show notes. People can follow you, The Real Hadassa, and they can see how devoted you are to
Yeah.
To the Israeli army and to our
We're
Hayalim.
going next week.
Anyway,
Going next week.
It's always a party.
Out.
Always a party in the Real Hadassa's Instagram page and her
gosh.
life. Legit. Thank you
We
so
have
much.
fun.
I'm gonna let you go
Thank you,
because
Pamela.
our kids
You're
are rolling in
incredible.
any minute now. Have a
Tell
great
them I
day
say hi.
and
Have a good
regards
one.
to the whole team over at Israel 365.
You got it. You got it. Lots of fun.